In 1992, Dr. Dre's first solo album, The Chronic, dropped, and the world was never the same. The persistent bass was just the right background for cruising in your 6'4 Impala or your Big Brother's 1990 Accord, depending on your situation. The Chronic sold 3 million copies, had 3 top 10 singles, and brought rap out of the dungeon of late-night MTV. Almost 30 years later, it still holds up as music to irritate the guy next to you at a stoplight. So we drove slowly around Las Cruces listening to it again, and now we've got some 40s of King Cobra malt liquor to sip on while we tell you what we learned. Grab some brews and let it ride. It's time for episode 12 of Toasting the Classics, The Chronic.
We are rolling. Welcome.
We're rolling. All right. Welcome to Toasting the Classics, the podcast where we read, watch, or listen to a classic.
Present
the classic. And then drink a drink related to that classic.
And decide whether we're going to toast it or not. If we toast it, it's
right.
something we both agree is definitely a classic. It's worth toasting. It's worth you going out and seeing or reading or hearing. Or
we don't have to both
whatever.
agree. You could just fly in the face. Like if I'm like, if for
Yeah.
this one, because I chose this, you could tell me, you know what, screw you. This is no good.
Right.
So it's really up to the foisty in this case. So
That's right. And I'm Clint Lanier.
Dave McArthur.
That's right. And welcome. We are. What are we considering today, Dave?
We are presenting the classic 1992 album, The Chronic by Dr. Dre.
Okay. And whose pick was this?
This was my pick.
That's
This
right.
is for free choice. It's the first time we've done an album. We're not going to be doing any samples from the album. We're just going to be talking about
Yeah.
it. So get on Spotify or whatever you got, Amazon. It's all available. It's available everywhere as far as I know. So,
Right.
and probably you've heard it, right? I mean, that's the point of choosing. Unless you're
you've heard at least
under the age of
one, yeah.
30, you've pretty much heard this.
You've heard at least
classic
one
before.
of these songs. Why don't you tell us why you chose this?
Why did I choose this? I chose this because A, I wanted to do an album at some point,
Yeah.
and B, this was just a great album. A big part of my life when I was a kid. You know, this is how I became a gangster, just by being inspired by
Right.
this. This is why I drank 40s all the time, and
absolutely.
I still drive a Chevy
I like your
6'4 Impala.
I like your gangster Harry Potter shirt.
I was thinking
Yeah.
it's very incongruous, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I went into the store today to buy the drink for today, and I'm wearing my Hermione T-shirt and buying a couple of 40s and just getting a lot of looks.
Was
as I
that we've
walked
got?
up.
We're drinking 40s?
Yes, we're
wow.
drinking.
How
Well,
original.
I announced that in the outro
Yeah,
for the last
that's
episode.
true.
It's not a
Okay.
surprise to the listeners.
All right.
Might be a surprise to you if you're not paying any attention.
I was sort of hoping it was Remy and Soda Pop.
Remy and Soda Pop. I thought about Tanqueray, but
Yeah.
Tanqueray gets mentioned more on Doggy Style.
Right. Yeah,
It's
gin and
less,
juice.
yeah, gin and juice. Yeah. So, which may happen at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
Not soon. We don't want to turn this into a gangster music podcast. You and I would be an awkward choice for that podcast.
Why don't you?
Although we do bring an outsider perspective, like we
Right.
talked about in Akira, so that's a possibility.
take us back to your childhood for a minute. I'm trying to picture a young Dave.
Take me back to
McArthur. So you grew up where?
I grew up in Northern Virginia, outside of D.C.
Okay.
In
It's a pretty urban area, very rural area.
It's urban compared
Okay.
to here. Like we
Yeah.
had the train, we could get into the city and
Okay.
stuff like that. But not urban in the euphemistic sense that people mean when they're talking about like African American culture. It was
Right.
not urban in that
No,
sense.
I was just
We were
talking
in a
city.
metropolitan area.
We were a city
yeah.
place.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
All right.
Definitely part of the city. Yeah, it was. It's D.C. is kind of my milieu. You know, it's where my family's
Stomping
from,
ground,
and it's
as
my
they say.
stomping grounds. Yeah, it's all my sports affiliations are D.C. and
Yeah,
Baltimore in the baseball case because
sure.
we weren't a important enough city to have a baseball team when I was a kid. So.
Right.
Yeah, so this album. So we talked about this before. I missed out on NWA
Okay.
because, like we talked about with Akira and a couple other things, I didn't have a big brother to give me stuff.
Oh, I see. Right.
That was cool and edgy.
Okay.
You know, so NWA just missed me. And then we were old enough to get Dr. Dre. Like you just go to the store and buy it. They'd sell it to you if you were, I think, 14, 15, 16,
Okay.
something like that. Whatever I was. Let's see, 92, I was 15.
Okay.
So I could get this album. And so my friend had a Honda Accord. I want to say it was a 1990 Honda Accord, which to me was just like the sweetest car I'd ever been anywhere near. And he had a big brother, and his big brother was really into electronics, and he had these like sweet subwoofers.
Yeah.
And we used to just drive around
That was
Fairfax County.
back in the day when you would thump that bass.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, just absolutely
Yeah.
annoy the hell out of everybody.
I've never had a sound system like
Yeah.
the one this kid had when we were 15. Although the new car actually has pretty good. And I've been listening to a lot more hip hop since I've been driving around in a car that's got subs.
In your 6.4?
It's not a 6.4. I was actually looking around at how much those cost. You could get one. You could get one. And I think living here in Cruces, if I get one, it's going to be like a low rider. And maybe even the other day, a guy went by us at the light and was like doing the popping thing that you can do if you have the suspension like that. And my daughter was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. You know, she's 5.
Yeah.
So
to a 5-year-old, that does
to
look
a 5-year-old,
really
it looks
cool.
pretty. Well, she was right. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool. So we used to drive around, and this was one of the albums that we would kick because the bass was very satisfying, and we did we probably did the thing from Office Space. Mm-hmm. Remember the guys listening to NWA?
I was thinking of that exact scene.
We were not the kind of guys that would like blast it at the streetlight to scare everybody. We would go to the streetlight, and my friend would be like, "Turn it down, turn it down, turn it down."
Yeah, I was like I said, I was thinking of that exact scene.
Yeah.
When I was cranking it in my minivan. Before I picked the kids up and changed it to something else.
Oh, you're just okay.
And
sweet.
and I was thinking that exact scene where he slowly rolls the window up. And he even starts muttering to himself.
Yeah, he's doing He's doing it all quiet. Yeah,
he's doing it all quiet. So
I'm a little more brazen these days.
Are
Like
you?
I'll keep listening to it at the stoplight, but my car gets some attention. So
Of course,
sometimes I get guys trying to like drag.
Right.
When I pull up stoplights, I'm like, I'm 43, man. I'm not doing that. Like, it's nice to see you. Yes, you have a nice car as well.
Right.
Your car that's painted with 4 different depictions of the Predator, like with lightning bolts coming out of the Predator's eyes.
Yeah,
And we get a lot of that in this town, so it's a pretty cool.
A lot of road racers.
Cool bit of local culture. So yeah. So what about you? What was your background with this? Is this?
I have no background with this. I never owned this album.
This is the first time you heard. This is not the first time you heard it, obviously.
Well, it's not the first time I heard it. The first time I've never owned this album, and and I've never listened to the whole album until now, until we did it for this. I think I heard every song on here at least once, and was familiar with many of them.
Right.
I was thinking about this, like, why did this miss me, or why did I miss it?
Okay.
I don't have. I mean, I didn't listen to a lot of rap. I think we talked about like 2 Live Crew.
We did.
When we talked about Carlin, I think. Is that when we talked about it?
At some point. We're talking about the parental advisory stickers.
Oh, that's right.
I think,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
how we got into that.
So that was that, and then all of the kind of novelty rap stuff, Sir Mix-a-Lot and so forth, and whatever they played on the radio. I
think there's 3 tracks on this album that got heavy radio
They
play.
did. Yeah, they did.
And I don't know about whether any of the rest of it would have been actually on the radio.
I don't remember them from the radio. I do remember them from Friends and stuff like that. But see, in 1991,
The 1990s sitcom.
what's that? Friends?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It seems like an unlikely place to pick up your Dr.
Well,
Dre
Luke Perry
phase.
was really into it.
Yeah, right.
Luke
He
Perry.
may have
not
been.
Luke Perry.
Luke Perry.
No.
Oh no,
It's,
Luke Perry's from 90210.
Matthew Perry.
Yeah.
Is that his name? Okay. Yeah.
Not the Commodore who brought the black ships to Japan. But
Right.
The
We're all over the place.
puffy-faced guy on Friends.
We can go back to
the one who everybody always says I act like.
We can go back to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Luke Perry.
Yes, we
reference
could go
there.
back to talking
Anyway.
to that. You know, one of the meanest things anybody ever said to me.
What's that?
I was at this party, and this girl I knew from high school. I told a joke or something, and she was like, "You remind me a lot of Matthew Perry from Friends, or Chandler from Friends." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she was like, "But not because you're funny or cool or anything, just because you're a loser."
Wow.
And I was like, "Wow,
Man.
wow, that is a spectacularly asinine
What
thing to
an
say to
a-hole.
somebody." Yeah,
Golly.
seriously, she was a piece of work, but
And she grew
anyway.
up to be a loser. You're a lawyer, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You dodge that bullet.
I have no idea what happened to her.
We'll just assume.
I hope she's happy.
We'll
my
just
my
assume.
revenge is living well.
There we go.
So
No, not a vindictive bone
No,
in his body.
not at all.
So I graduated in
I
19...
did burn her house down, though, at
there
the
you
time.
go.
Yeah,
So I graduated in 1992.
okay, that's the very year.
That's the very year I
Right.
graduated. When this album came out in December, I was comfortably flunking out of college.
This came out in December of
December
92? Oh, I didn't actually
15th
look
of-
up what
of 1992.
month. Okay, so probably we were mostly listening in 93 then.
Okay.
Because it's not like I was at Tower Records waiting for the album.
So 93 you would have been listening to this. But see,
Right.
in 1991, what happened was a nuclear bomb hit the music industry called Nirvana. Nirvana.
Yeah.
In September of 1991.
Yeah.
And that pretty much consumed the rest of the 90s for me. I mean, I was I was like, oh my God, what is this? And then in '92, Alice in Chains came out with Dirt.
Oh, all the grunge stuff was the other side to my coin.
Immediately followed.
Yeah.
And I was listening to everything grunge. And so I missed this when it came out. I probably would have listened to it. I wasn't listening to radio anymore after that. I was listening to.
I think this, specifically the track "Nothing But a G Thing."
Yeah.
Which we had. This is such a long time ago that like rap was not mainstream.
Yeah.
There was Yo MTV Raps,
right,
which was like the part of MTV where they would actually play rap. That changed a little bit in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
But we actually still had like an R&B and rap station in DC, WPGC.
Yeah.
And you had to listen to that if you wanted to hear this.
Okay.
They wouldn't play Dr. Dre on like the rock stations.
Right.
It just wasn't, those two worlds didn't cross.
Yeah.
We had an alternative rock station called WHFS. And for some reason, they would play the Beastie Boys.
Okay.
I'm not sure what it was about the Beastie Boys that let them get played on the alternative rock station. There was something different about those guys. I don't know what it was, but for some reason they were allowed to be played on alternative rock. And
they
Dr.
white,
Dre,
maybe.
That's kind of where I was going with that. Yeah, I mean, I love the Beastie Boys. They're awesome,
Right.
but that was just kind of a weird
Well,
programming
and
choice.
another thing in '92 is Check Your Head came out.
Right.
The same year.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a great year for music.
Yeah,
There's
Check Your
all
Head was
kinds
was
of great
good
music
album,
that came out. So this just wouldn't have been on my radar at all when it came out. It wasn't something that I would have looked for.
No, this
and,
that's why.
And radio. I mean, this little community that we live in had barely barely had any radio stations. I think you had like 3 country stations. You had 1 rock station, 95.5. You had kind of like the pop station was 104.9.
What about university radio? Did you guys have that?
KRUX, and we did, but all they played was alternative and like super alternative.
That's a really cool resource, though. I didn't have that growing up. We didn't have university radio. No.
First Rage Against the Machine album came out in '92, so they were playing it on KRUX.
Yeah, that one was big. I remember that.
They had what was called Crux Fest at the end of every year, nothing but alternative and stuff. So.
That's what I started that sort of that digression about was that the sound of "Smells Like Teen Spirit." The first time I heard that track hit me like I was like, that's what I've been waiting. I've been waiting for somebody to mix sort of the rock sounds that I like with the punk rock sound and still produce something that sounds like a musical song.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's exactly what I've been waiting for years. Now, there had been things like that, like the Pixies, that I didn't have access to. I didn't have the Pixies. So I found that out later, and I loved them, but that was years later. And this was sort of similar because when I heard that track, Nothing But a G Thing, I was like, this is so much better than like the Fat Boys and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The pop things that he throws in as the samples and into those songs, just they're catchy and like the flow that both Dre and Snoop have is light years ahead of what rap was doing before that. It's completely different.
Totally. Yep.
It was the same thing. I heard it once and I was like, I'm buying that album. I love the way that track sounds. Like I have to have that. And then it just so happens that when we got the album, the bass kicks in, I think 5 or 6 seconds on the first track and does not stop.
Yeah.
Except for a couple of obnoxious skits throughout the album. But the bass doesn't stop, and it's just great for cruising and driving around town when you have nothing better to do.
Yeah, except, I mean, it really is a great sound. And before that, you had, so I'm trying to remember, you had Crisscross.
Oh, God, yeah.
Right?
Which I don't hate. I can still listen to is it Jump Around or Jump? Crisscross is Jump House of Pain is Jump Around.
And House of Pain came out in '92 as well.
Yeah, right around the same time.
And what else did you have before that? You had Public Enemy. You had who did?
But again, I couldn't get a hold of Public
Hip Hop
Enemy.
Parade. Oh.
That's Tag Team.
Tag Team, yeah, Tag Team.
Tag Team's kind of a two-hit wonder because they have that and then something else.
There are a lot of them. That's what I call like novelty
Whoop,
rap.
there it is.
Whoop, there it is. Yeah. You know, they're like novelty rap songs. So you had a lot of that come out before this, and then this hit, and it was like you said, suddenly there's a real sound to it.
Yeah,
like
it really kind of came together. It's the same thing I was saying about, I heard Pearl Jam first, and although I grew to really like Pearl Jam, my first hearing, I was, it's just another alternative rock song. But the first time I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit, it was like, I turned and was like, stop what I was doing.
What is that?
What is that? You know,
we were all talking about it at school. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
Gin Blossoms came out in '92 as well.
Yeah, I like Gin Blossoms,
so
but they were
I,
kind of just like alternative rock. They didn't really stand out the same way.
I mean,
they were not that different because we had the alternative rock station. Gin Blossoms had a sound that was kind of like some bands like Cracker and some other things like that, Camper Van Beethoven and things like that. Like,
I can see that.
They didn't really jump out at me the same way. But yeah, I mean, a good band. We had that first album. That was the same Blind Melon.
Blind Melon, yeah.
We got Blind Melon. My buddy bought Blind Melon and Gin Blossoms for a road trip, and we listened to those albums on the road trip. So it must have been 92, 91. I don't know.
I owned like the only. So I had, like, I'm trying to think of what rap albums I might have had. There's Beastie Boys. I had License to Ill. It was like one of the first albums I ever had, which would have been like 86 or something like that. 80,
I got gypped on License to Ill. You know what happened to me?
Huh.
I went to an exhibition baseball game, Mets and Phillies. The game ended 1-0. Mets won. Mookie Wilson slid home, stole home.
Okay.
End of the game. So the next day, I go to a minor league baseball game with my buddy, and I'm telling him, I'm like, hey, I went to this game, and I told him the story about the whole game. And 5 seconds later, this guy comes up to us, and he grabs my friend. He's like, hey, what was the score of the Mets-Phillies game yesterday? And my friend was like, it was 1-0. Mookie Wilson, stole. And the guy's like, good job. Like, you win a vinyl copy of License to Ill and gave it to him. And I'm like, if I just kept my mouth shut 5 seconds longer. So I never had License to Ill. That would have been the only way I would have gotten my hands on. My parents would never buy something like that for me. So I got gypped. But
that's too bad.
Yeah.
Actually, my parents wouldn't buy it either. My friend had it, and so he recorded it for me.
There you go.
Gave it to me.
There you go.
The way we used to actually do it when we were civilized.
Anybody who's under the age of 35 or so, what we used to do is we used to have these things called tapes, and you could play a CD and just record it onto the tape. I don't know if it worked for vinyl.
Or if you had like a dual tape deck, you could.
If you had a dual tape deck, that was rare though. That was rare. But
my friend had it. He had some money. So
okay.
But that was my first album, and then I think I remember I had Arrested Development.
That was good. Arrested Development, actually, I was listening to them the other day, and they've got the same kind of smooth flow that Dre and Snoop have. There's a similarity, and they're really good.
Yeah.
They're just like they're kind of like Outkast. They're like kind of eclectic.
Yeah.
And sort of maybe not.
Well, and they're political. They're
a little bit.
A lot of political.
In a cool way, though.
Culture,
actually, it's not quite as obnoxious as how I found Public Enemy to be. Although they're good, but I mean, they were like really expressly like that, and Arrested Development tended to be like, I remember them making references to like the trees their forefathers hung from, and I was just like, I thought that was a cool reference. It kind of reminded me of Ella Fitzgerald.
Right.
Or is it Billie Holiday?
I think Billie Holiday.
Strange Fruit. Okay. Anyway, but
Mr. Wendell. I heard Mr. Wendell the other day. It's a great song, but it's a very Tennessee. I mean, it's a very like.
I challenge you to a game of horseshoes. A game of horseshoes.
But when this came out, it was all about the hood and the politics of the hood, and
we should talk about. Do you think this album's political?
I think it's political in the sense of talking about what happens in Compton, right? What happens on the street.
Okay. Political in the sense of depicting life in a certain
right,
okay.
and it is political. There's which song is it? That's about the riots.
It's one that's got the N-word in it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it, but yeah, I know which song you're talking about.
Break 'em off some is the chorus, but I mean. So that one absolutely is.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure. There's a lot of references to the riots.
He samples a lot of newscasts and basically says that they're afraid of us.
Yeah.
That when we get together, they're afraid of us and us being
and get the essays up as well.
Yeah.
It's time to rob and mob.
Right.
Yep.
So I mean, I think that's definitely political.
See, the way I agree in a sense, right? But I think mostly this is like a movie, like. Not even like the first half of Goodfellas. It's like depicting this life that a lot of people are going to be like, oh, man, I'd like to drive around in a 6.4 Impala and steal VCRs and like get in fights and drink 40s. That sounds cool, I think that's what it was about. Because the riots, when he talks about it, he's like, look how afraid everybody is of us. It's not a deep political thought. That's more of like a young male aspirational, I want everybody to be terrified of me. It's fun.
That's true.
It's fun to scare people kind of thing. And they also talk about just like the stuff they got in the riots. And again, it's just like, look how cool this was.
Right.
Which I think just sold like an idea.
What was the Sublime song that talks about the riots? What was that?
Oh, there is one. Yeah. It's on it's not on is it 40 Ounces to Freedom or is it the other one? But anyway, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's about this
being down
effed up situation and these effed up police.
Being down, coming on top, and yelling.
There's a little bit of the Venn diagram
cop.
of Sublime and Dr. Dre does have an intersection.
Does it really?
You wouldn't think so. Their album 40 Ounces to Freedom, 40, and they're from LA.
Right.
And they're sort of, I think they thought they were sort of gangster a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think they were, although the guy did die of a heroin overdose.
That's
gangster. Pretty badass.
Yeah.
No, I'm not serious in that comment. But there's an intersection there.
Yeah.
I think, especially in Sublime's mind. I think
Maybe.
Dr. Dre just would have made fun of the guys in Sublime. But,
probably so.
Yeah. But there's a little bit of a connection there. Anyway, early 90s LA,
Sure.
right? So
Yeah. So do you consider Dre an artist?
I think, okay, do you want me to define art?
Or
do you want me to define art? I have a definition of art.
Or a musician or?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely. So my definition of art, which is a pretty simplistic one, which would definitely make him an artist, is just anything you do where you make choices is art. Anything you produce where you choose.
Okay.
Right? Like when you build a bridge, there's certain specifications to it, and you have to be able to get trucks over it, and it can't fall down. It has to be able to withstand the weather. Everything you do in that sense is not art. But when you start putting anything on it that you didn't have to and making choices about that bridge, you're doing art. So clearly, when Dr. Dre sat down to do this album, he made tons of choices.
Right.
Definitely an artist.
Okay.
As to whether he's a musician, I think it's a bit like being a composer, right? Like Beethoven probably had some skill at playing music, but mostly what he did was compose for other people to play.
Right.
And I think that the choices that Dre's making and how different it is, and then again, there's also the rapping, which is definitely a musical form of a sort, kind of in between poetry and music.
Does it matter that he didn't write that? Actually,
did he not write his own rap?
No, he didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. I mean, it matters, but just being able to do it is.
He had writers.
Is a
he had writers come into the booth, and they talked about it.
That's interesting.
And they would be. It was kind of a collaborative approach. So they would give him the lyrics and stuff, and he would change words around and kind of mix it up a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, he wasn't. It
changes things a little bit for me that he's not writing his own raps, but not completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should be. But I mean, just the whole album, just the composition of the album is pretty good. I mean, that's definitely, I think, something that is a work of art. Putting together the choices that they made. So this would be getting to my surprise kind of early. But when I was a kid, I was like, wow, Snoop and Dr. Dre are like musical geniuses.
Yeah.
I didn't know who George Clinton was.
Yeah.
And then I realized, okay, they're just covering a lot of George Clinton and the Isley Brothers and people like that, R&B guys from the 70s. What I didn't realize until this listening and when I read about the album afterwards is it's not samples. And it's clear, I mean, it's obvious to me now, but it's not samples. They actually play the instruments.
Right. Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And that's my biggest surprise of going back to the album after so much time, is to find out that like they had studio musicians playing this stuff. And that's definitely an art, you know, and that's composition. Although he didn't write the pieces.
There's some samples, but you're right.
There are samples. There are samples.
But
like
the musicians are playing the music, though.
Musicians are playing the music.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I think all that's pretty cool. There's a bit, I think it's Lil Ghetto Boy.
Yeah.
Where there's like a jazz flute going on for a really long time. And I was like, this is a really cool and really unlikely pairing.
Right.
Like, that I really am enjoying, like listening to it now.
Yeah.
So, so you like the whole album as a whole?
Yeah, I can't think of any of the songs I didn't quite like. The the intermission, skits that you're talking about. Those were a bit.
Those are
odd and funny. But
I got Kendrick Lamar. I was listening to Kendrick Lamar because I like him, a lot of the stuff he does. But man, the skits, I was just like,
well, Dre produces him too.
I know. Yeah, he's discovered almost everybody from the West Coast anyway. Eminem, who's not even from the West
Detroit.
Coast. I guess he owns everything up to the Mississippi, right? No, Eminem's east of the Mississippi. Yeah,
Detroit.
So maybe everything up to the Ohio River belongs to Dr. Dre. Maybe. It's pretty impressive, you know. Although that's maybe a third of the population of the country, right?
Right.
So
True.
Most people do live east of that. But so he's discovered a lot of people. I mean, obviously there's Snoop, Eminem, Tupac, Kendrick Lamar. I mean, right there, Eminem, biggest selling artist of the 2000s, of the aughts of that decade. So even if he just discovered Eminem, that'd be a huge thing. So
how many Grammys does Dre have? He must have.
I don't know.
A ton of them, or at least contributed to Grammy albums. Because like
I'm sure.
Eminem,
well, he's involved with Kendrick Lamar and Eminem.
They both have Grammys, multiple Grammys. Tupac, I think. Tupac won a Grammy.
I don't know.
But was he out of death row by the time Tupac?
I'm not sure.
Did you read about the whole
that might not
thing?
have been death row. That might have been aftermath by the time Tupac was.
I think it was death row.
Okay.
Because what happened was
it's aftermath because Tupac is, I think, on. What year did Tupac die? He couldn't have been on the 2001 album.
No,
he died before that.
like 97 maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But when he died, I mean, that was really. I mean, after he died, death row really didn't have any talent left, and they kind of went downhill after that.
Yeah.
And they had a notorious racketeer running the place. But
you mean Suge Knight?
Yeah, Suge.
Murder. Yeah. Not that I didn't just say that. Don't come after me.
Right.
Assuming he's still alive.
Yeah. Well, at least he's not driving a truck right now. But
that's how he killed somebody. That's right.
Yeah.
Boy.
What else happened in the 90s that would have? Anyway, let's just go back to influence. I mean, this, like you said, this influenced pretty much all the sound after that.
So it's got its own awesome sound, but also I think the timing was just right where it was starting to go out to the suburbs. Like rap was really starting to get to the suburbs. Maybe even just a time thing because it had been around for a few years.
Right.
It takes white people a few years to start listening to African American music. And it's kind of, so here's a question, right? So Elvis popularized rock and roll.
Right.
Because pretty much, I mean, Elvis is super talented. I don't mean to speak
I know where
against
you're
him,
going. Yeah.
But rock and roll needed a white face.
Yeah.
You know, and after all these artists we're talking about, the number one selling, not to say that Eminem's not good. I think Eminem was good, but he's the number one selling rap artist.
Right.
You know, and is it the same phenomenon going on? Did rap still need a white face in 2000?
I think so.
Which surprises me.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, as African Americans make up about 12% of the population in this country, white people make up like 30% or 40, like 38, 40%.
I think your Las Cruces bias is showing it's more like 70% of the whole country.
Is it 70? No.
It's at least 60.
No,
it's at least 60.
I think it's
here in this town. It's like 20%.
Well, I'll say it's over 50. I think you're right. It's over 50, but it's
still a plurality.
But it's getting close to being the minority based on the majority of minorities, if that makes sense at all.
It's a plurality.
We're
going to be a plurality. We'll be like more European people than other things.
I will say I was one of about, and this is God's honest truth, hand to God, like 3 or 4 white kids at my elementary school.
I'll bet. I'll bet.
And but in any case, it's so strange. This state is so strange. In that Las Cruces, growing up, most of the people that were in authority that I knew, or most of the people that I recognized as being authority figures, were Hispanic.
Sure.
But on the other side of the state, in Carlsbad, where my wife, who is Hispanic, grew up there, exact opposite. Majority white people, and they're just really white people were the mayors and principals and everything else. It's so strange.
Yeah, well, like I said, I grew up in the D.C. area. When I was a little kid, I went to school in the District of Columbia, and all my teachers, the principal, everybody was African American. Like you said, everybody in a position of authority. A lot of the police were. I just didn't see the world that way. Then you go out to Fairfax County, completely the opposite.
Yeah.
Although I still had some teachers who were African American, but definitely not as many.
Yeah.
So it's just different, just kind of regional, and that's only you cross a river, you know, and everything
that's
changes.
True.
Here, it's like the Rio Grande Valley is really the old New Mexico,
and
a lot more established. And then people came into eastern New Mexico. Nobody would have lived there until the 1800s, probably.
You're probably right.
Or very few people, you know.
No, you're absolutely right.
A couple of bands of Comanche,
because they were coming up through this valley in the 1600s, I think. So In any case.
Oh, and there's a population here before Columbus.
Right.
You know, we had people here going back to. Well, I imagine as long as there's been human habitation in North America.
1000 AD, I think.
Oh, at least. But there were farms and population at the time that the Spaniards got here. So,
but well, my point was that if you want to make a lot of money, you got to appeal to white people, right? And
I guess that doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is that even in 2000, that those white people wouldn't buy albums by a black face.
Well,
like
I think
not as many as they did.
I think it might be. I think it might be, and I think you kind of put a finger on it earlier. You know, why did that station play Beastie Boys and no African American rappers?
Yeah.
Right. And look at MTV. You had Yo MTV Raps, so you had, which was like an hour or maybe 2 hours, something like that.
I think it was about an hour. It was like Headbangers Ball.
Yeah, Headbangers Ball had a thing, but for most of it though, you had like pop music, right?
Right.
And I think they would put Eminem in the pop music slot, put Dre at the MTV
Well,
raps,
they started
right?
mainstreaming rap before Eminem, though. Like Snoop Dogg was just played on regular rotation.
Yeah, you're right. Snoop and Tupac was
and Tupac as well.
California was everywhere.
Yeah. So by the time, honestly, I think by the time Eminem was out, MTV was kind of past its days of relevance.
Yeah,
At least for me.
I think you're right.
I
yeah.
stopped watching MTV when I was in college.
Yeah.
Maybe 97, 98.
Yeah, that's
something
about
like
when I
that,
stopped
when I started
watching it,
tuning
too.
out because it was too much other content.
Yeah.
I used to love just putting it on and videos, for hours on end, and just maybe not even pay attention.
Right.
Like having a baseball game on.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, okay, that's
right.
do something else while
Or
it's
Beavis
on.
and Butthead would come on. And,
Beavis and
do their
Butthead I could
thing.
put up with.
Yeah.
I liked that's why it ended up happening, because they had some content that actually was enjoyable to watch. Like
Yeah.
Beavis and Butthead and Liquid Television.
Liquid
and what was Real World? I watched the first couple seasons of Real
First season of Real World,
No?
yeah, watch that. Yeah.
But when it took over the station, I
that's
tuned
all
out.
they. That's all they were
I was
doing.
kind of done with it.
Do you remember Spring Break, MTV Spring Break?
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like 2 or 3 weeks of Spring Break. Going to college when I was like a freshman or sophomore, I was like, that's all I want to do. I want to go wherever there's an MTV like Spring Break. I want to go there for Spring Break.
Yeah.
Never did.
Yeah. I did one little
Never
spring
did.
break.
I never did.
I went to Ocean City one time for spring
Wow.
break, but it wasn't even I was already in college, and I went with some friends that were like a year younger than me that were still in high school, and we went and like had like a party for a couple of days, and that was my only time I did spring break at Ocean City, Maryland.
I don't think we did
So, do you want to have a tortured segue?
Sure.
So we were talking about the Native American population of New Mexico.
Yeah.
Dr. Dre drinks Crazy Horse malt liquor.
He does.
And actually got some Crazy Horse, the company, got flack.
That was the best.
That's
segue
pretty
ever.
good, right?
Yeah.
So Crazy Horse actually got flack for
they got
having a Native American
they got a
mascot.
lot of it.
That was part of it, but they actually had a lawsuit against them, and you'll never guess why. It's way more ridiculous. Okay, fine, I get that.
Okay.
It's way more ridiculous. The use of the word crazy was suggesting to people that they might want to go crazy while drinking alcohol.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, that's kind of the point of
Right.
drinking a 40
No,
of
there's
anything.
there's a rule.
This is not a sipping drink that you're enjoying.
I think that the federal government has a rule, the Bureau of Tax and alcohol, tobacco, and firearm.
Uh-huh.
So they have this rule about how you can name, ferment liquor or beer. You can't put anything in the title that would suggest like how powerful the liquor is, or how strong it is. Or
What about
like that.
Four Loko?
That I don't know.
Does that still exist?
Yeah, Four Loco's still out there.
Okay.
Which has, if I remember, it's like caffeine, sugar.
Yeah, I think so. I've never had that.
Like that.
I've never had that. I'm too old for that.
It was Colt 45. Was kind of one of the first tests of that. I think back in the 60s or 70s when Colt 45 came out.
What's wrong with that?
It kicks like a Colt. Okay, and so
That's
was
attenuated at best.
Right, but that's what the federal government said was that
yeah.
that they're trying to make it whatever, right?
Boy.
So that I can see the crazy
45. It makes you spin like a 45 record.
Right.
Come on, man.
Yeah. And then I remember, what was the one that where the bull would come charging through the
Wasn't that Schlitz?
was that Schlitz? Schlitz malt liquor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
like
it was the one that Lando
yeah, blue bull.
pitched, right?
Blue
Or was he Colt
bull.
45?
I think he was Colt 45.
He was Colt 45,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
But all those suggestions, yeah, I can see that.
So Crazy Horse doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Actually, the first time I ever drank alcohol was a 40 of Crazy Horse because we were listening to these albums. And we had a friend who worked at Safeway. So my buddy just went in and bought a couple of 40s of Crazy Horse malt liquor off of his buddy that worked at Safeway. And we went home and played Super Mario Brothers and drank a 40. That
Nice.
was my first experience of alcohol. Had a blast.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
How drunk did you get?
After drinking a 40,
Yeah.
and not drinking alcohol before that, I was not hammered, but yeah,
Had a good
felt
buzz
it.
on?
I felt it.
Had a
Yeah,
good buzz on,
we were
okay.
having a good time. We
Sure.
were goofing around.
Sure.
And, it was a pretty good time. So that's gone. I wanted to get OE, Old English.
Yeah.
I actually announced on the outro that it would be Old English. They didn't have that, so I went with something a little funkier. You hear that?
Oh Lord!
So what? So
oh my God! So
this
we're looking at a bottle of King
Cobra premium malt liquor. So
liquor.
one of the
Wow.
now you correct me if I'm wrong because my alcohol knowledge is pretty half-aid, but
that's a lot of
so one of the defining factors of malt liquor is it's a beer with pretty high alcohol content.
Yeah, I mean,
But
not,
this one-
not by today's standards anymore. I mean, it used to be.
Right. Compared to Coors or something, right? Yeah,
exactly.
okay. Well, this still is because this says 6%. So this is 40 ounces of 6% beer. Right. I don't know if I'm going to get through that.
I don't think I'm going to get
this
through
section because I may not be able to walk away. I got us 2 bottles of water to go with it because I think we need to hydrate because we're older gentlemen. We're gentlemen of a certain age. And
speak for yourself.
I don't know if I'm ready to pound a 40 over the course of an hour-long podcast.
So do you want to know what I know about 40s?
I would absolutely like to know what you know about 40s. Are we cracking these?
Yeah. Actually, not 40s, but malt liquor.
There we go. That's good sound. I hope you did that near the mic.
So the, I know.
Oh, that smell actually brings back memories.
That smell hits you.
Oh, brother.
Kind of smells like a trash can if you throw a lot of beer cans into it. That's
a little
that
bit.
smell reminds me of.
Yeah, it's sort of the wort that ends up. Now, this we're gonna usually
clunk them together.
My wave that I have, the sound file that I have for the glasses clinking. This is not going to be a clink. This is going to be a clink or a clunk.
Yeah.
Actually, that was kind of clinky. Let's try that a little more force. There we go. Kind of far away. Bottoms up.
Yeah, that tastes like malt liquor.
I could drink that because it brings back memories. It's kind of like the high life. It's the same thing. Like this brings back memories of a misspent youth.
So malt liquor started. There's a one called, I think it was Town and Country is what it was called. One of the
Town and Country is what? That's the name of a
first malt liquor.
Okay, the first malt liquor.
One of the first malt liquors. So I think that came out, I want to say in the 30s or 40s.
Okay.
And it was initially marketed to
it's a 3-syllable word,
right? Or is it Country Club? I think it was Country Club, called Country Club malt liquor.
Okay.
And it was sold to sort of upper class white people. That's what it was designed for.
Okay.
So here is a drink that is like a cocktail. It has higher alcohol and more alcohol in it, but it's like a beer. So you can drink it at backyards, without having to mix up a highball or something like that. So we're talking back in the days of like Darren and Mr. Tate and that kind of stuff and Bewitched. You gave me a weird look. You don't know who Darren and Mr. Tate are?
Not by first name. When you mentioned Bewitched, yes.
Right, well,
Dick York, Dick Sargent, Sergeant York. I know those guys.
So Darren was always in charge of making highballs from Mr. Tate whenever he came over and stuff. And Samantha would have the whole cocktail tray like ready for him to assemble his martini from Mr. Tate. In any case, you could avoid that. Just pick up one of these cans of malt liquor and drink it, right? So that's what it was marketed towards, upper class white people.
Huh.
And so there are 2 theories for why it became, because what they found was that the largest population by percent that was drinking it was African American.
So just parenthetically, I'd like to mention why you know so much about this specific subject is the book you're working on.
Right. So I wrote a book called People's Beer. It's about the first black brewery president in America, guy named Ted Mack, who bought a brewery in Oshkosh, Wisconsin back in 1971.
Okay.
And through a whole number of things, things quickly went south for him, and for a number of reasons. But this was so a lot of the research that I did for that book kind of is pertinent here. So
right.
Yeah. So what they found was that the African American community, the number of people that were drinking it, the percentage of that population far outnumbered the percent of white people that were drinking it. So their marketing.
No idea why that happened.
Well, no. So there's two theories for why it happened. One is the lifestyle theory, because they were marketing it towards upper class white people.
Okay.
So the
sort of aspirational then.
Yeah. So all the advertising
sure.
talked about being in a country club. They're around the pool. It showed all of these young white urbanites kind of hanging out and doing their thing, and so there's this aspirational goal like. But then the other one is the theory that it's more powerful. You get more bang for your buck.
Yeah, that's true.
You get a 12 ounce.
That's true.
You get 12 ounces of beer at 4% or 12 ounces of beer at 6%.
So what's different in the brewing process that brings that bigger kick?
Just more sugar.
Just more sugar.
They fortify it. Yeah, typically. Okay. So what you do when you make beer is you
like sugar added or the malt itself.
That's correct. No, sugar added.
Okay. All right.
So when you make beer, you create a malt first, as you just mentioned.
Malt is when you let the barley germinate.
You malt it. So what you do? Well, I'm sorry. Let me back up. So you get malted, which is germinated exactly because it has higher sugar content. So what they'll do is they'll take this grain, and they'll wet it down, let it just get to where it's about to germinate, and then they heat it, they roast it, and that stops it from going any further. But that creates more sugar within that grain. And then they take that, and they grind that down, and mix it with water, and then they heat it up, and they let it just kind of sit there, and they make what they call a wort.
Right.
And then they
wort, W-O-R-T.
I believe so, yeah.
And that's sort of like the mash of the stuff that's going to go into the beer.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
That's the actual malt, like malted water, right? It's very sweet. It actually tastes really good. So then you remove the grain.
There's
from that,
there's a Russian drink called kvass.
Kvass. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I think is kind of like a wort. Like it's kind of like if you don't ferment it, because it's not alcoholic.
Yeah.
And we've been on like picnics a couple of times, and some of the Russians will bring like these big 2-liter bottles of kvass, and I'm like, well, actually, a couple sips of that goes a long way. So you can have that liter.
Right.
I'm glad I tasted it.
Yeah,
but I think it's kind of like a wort.
It might be. They used to sell it all the time as kind of a nutritional thing. You can sell the malt nutrient. I think was kind of popular back in like the pre-prohibition. So they would sell it essentially without the alcohol, and they would market it towards women to feed the babies and stuff like that. It's
did your mom buy that? Because your mom was definitely into giving you a sip of the old.
Right. So anyway, so what you do if you want to make malt liquor, what they would do is they would then take this wort, add sugar to it.
Okay.
And that would increase the.
My note from reading
content.
on Wikipedia was, quote, throw a bunch of crap into the wort.
Well, there you go.
It's kind of the impression that I got.
Yeah.
It was just like put a whole bunch of stuff in
pretty
and see
much,
what comes out.
Pretty much. I think the first guy, the first company that did it was that, like I said, I think it was Country Club Malt Liquor, and I think that was back in I want to say 36. It was a long time ago.
Okay.
But it was after Prohibition, and one of the other reasons that kind of came about this, people forgot what beer was during Prohibition, right? Because if you're going to
you were telling me,
if you're going to bootleg, what are you going to bootleg? You're going to bootleg rot gut,
Sure.
And so people stopped drinking beer, and then after
Today's
Prohibition,
National Moonshine Day, is that right?
Today is National Moonshine Day as we record this.
Yeah.
So after Prohibition, they wanted something stronger. So a stronger beer kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how malt liquor came to become in the African American community, because in the '60s when they figured out that these were who was actually buying it, and then the marketing turned and it started marketing specifically for that community.
Right. And then what's funny, very ironic, is that you're saying the hypothesis is that originally it's an aspirational thing to look up to the country club set.
Yeah, potentially.
And then what happens is Sublime is aspiring to be like Dr. Dre,
right,
so they're buying this stuff to aspire to being like part of the African American community.
It became a cultural marker.
Right.
Right? Because a couple of things, a 40 ounce, these were what, $2 each, $2.50, something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I paid $10 for what I bought, and I think most of that was the bottled water.
It was the bottled water. Probably cost, Aquafina probably cost.
I think it was $3.
Okay, $3.
But
$3. But that's 40 ounces.
Let me get out my calculator. That's per ounce. That's pretty low.
They didn't have one of those things next to it where it says how many what you're paying per ounce.
I bought them at the Pick Quick.
I wonder if Walmart has that. I wonder if you can go to look at a bottle of Jim Beam and it tells you per ounce the price on it.
They sometimes have that on a little tag there.
Yeah. Well, I know they have it on all the other products.
Right.
In any case, so that's the story. It's really interesting though. In the late '80s, it became kind of a symbol of hip hop, and here we are, and it still kind of is.
Yeah, definitely. I think I know Cypress Hill did
Cypress
not
Hill.
F with the big 4-0. That was one of their calling cards. So I was saying before, I think the album's uneven.
Okay.
I think the second half of the album, and this is another thing I thought about doing for my big surprises at the second, because it's been a while since I listened to the whole album cover to cover. Second half's a little weaker.
Let me look at my playlist.
Yeah, the first half of the album is like Let Me Ride, Nothing But a G Thing, F with Dre, and those are just like bona fide classics. You could just play those on repeat.
Well, I think every one that you just said was on the radio. Each one of those got rotation.
Yeah, those are the big tracks. And there's a couple of the tracks in the first half that are still pretty good, but then the second half kind of devolves a little bit, I think. Like there's a lot more filler. There's one at the end called Stranded on Death Row. That's a really weird track. I put together a mix CD for my girlfriend when I was in college, and I just chose like weird stuff. I did Ghost Town by the Specials and like a lot of stuff that just kind of had a weird vibe to it, and I put that on there, and it fit with all this like like Echo and the Bunnymen type of tracks, just because it's got a weird sound. It's like this creepy, like squealing voice in the background of the cell door slamming. And it's
they're definitely darker.
Yeah, it's darker. It's definitely darker. Yeah.
I would say the second half is darker.
Second half is darker.
Like the first one, a lot of party songs, right?
First half, yes, definitely.
First half.
Yeah.
The second half gets pretty dark.
In fact, I said that we would drive around listening to the whole album. I kind of think we got to about track 7 and started over again. And I think that's probably more how we rolled. Right. But I could be remembering that wrong. So I don't know. What's your favorite track?
Favorite track? Probably the first one. F with Dre.
Really?
With Dr. Dre.
Okay.
F with Dre Day. Yeah.
So
everybody's celebrating.
It's hard for me to remember which track.
Or let me ride. Maybe.
Let Me Ride's awfully good.
Nothing but a G thing. Maybe I don't know. D's nuts.
Can we say that?
I think we can say that.
Are we gonna have to put an E next to our podcast?
I think there was a presidential candidate. I believe.
Said that?
No, that was named D's nuts.
What are you talking about?
I'm not kidding. Hold on.
Yeah. Okay. So F with Dre is. Yeah, I know all these lyrics, but I'm trying to think what the hook is. So it's kind of, it's kind of hard to, bow, wow, wow, yippee, yo, yippee, yay. That's like a really, that's a classic bit. So you definitely know, I know all of them. That's the amazing thing to me. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, because movies are like this too. I start listening to these songs and every single word comes out of my mouth like I just heard it yesterday.
Right.
Where is that stored? That's why I can't remember passwords for anything. Because
before we move on.
Okay.
D's Nuts was a satirical presidential candidate portrayed by Brady C. Olson from Iowa, who ran in the 2016 United States presidential election. See, I'm not making this stuff up. Man.
Okay. That's
you know what?
Did you hear the Dolomite bit in there?
Yeah, I heard the Dolomite thing. Yeah, that kind of made me laugh.
Man, I watched we'd been hearing about him for years, so we got like a VHS tape of a Dolomite movie, but it was also spun with kind of some interviews by him, and he's on there talking about this movie, which is terrible, by the way. Really not a good movie. And he's like, see, the only reason we didn't win an Academy Award is just because people are racist against this stuff. And I was like, man, yeah. That's not the only reason, Mr. Dolomite.
Right.
You know, like
didn't Eddie Murphy. He played Dolomite, didn't he?
No, it was not Richard Roundtree. That's Shaft. It's Rudy Ray Moore.
No. I mean, I think there's a recent movie, like a biopic, that I think Eddie Murphy starred in.
Okay, maybe.
And I think that actually was up for either Best Actor or Academy Award.
Okay, that's different, though.
Yeah, but he played. I mean, he portrayed
maybe,
him. Yeah,
maybe. I don't remember that for some reason.
I think it wasn't a big release, but it was apparently a critically acclaimed.
Daddy, if I had nuts on my wall, would those be walnuts? I mean, I just remember listening to that when I was a kid. I'd never heard of Dolomite.
If I had nuts on my chin, would that?
Okay, all right.
You want me to go on?
We're gonna stop there. Yeah, but I was just like, what in God's name is happening on this? You know, like what are they? What is that?
Right.
I thought it was something they made up, but it's like, no, it's a classic piece of '70s comedy.
You gotta love it.
Which, by the way, the '70s stuff they sample on this.
Oh, that's all they sample.
But it's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
The guys that were doing R&B in the '70s it's just virtuosic.
Yeah.
Like a couple of times. So I do this thing where I put on my Spotify mix that's every song from my entire life that I ever liked, and I'll just put it on random, and then I'll pause and I'll try to play the song on guitar. If I ever get one of those R&B songs from the '70s, forget it.
Good luck, yeah.
Forget it. It's 35 different chords.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
And the way it comes together, and they tend to be like almost like orchestral. There's so many people involved in putting the song together.
Yeah.
And Dre being able to sample the best bits of those songs.
Now, I wonder, because
it's not just him. It's also Ice Cube, when he was a solo artist, did the same thing. It Was a Good Day is an Isley Brothers track that's playing in the background.
I wonder how much, okay, so did they know this music, or did they go looking and find the music for the sampling?
No. Dre knew George Clint
the music?
back and forth. He had a, now they did this in a movie, so this is where I'm getting the image, but he had like a milk crate with all of his vinyl records, and it was just all George Clinton. And like I said, like the Temptations, all that stuff from the 60s and 70s.
If I remember correctly, I think his dad had a band called the Marcells. That was Dre's middle name was Marcel.
Oh, interesting.
And I think it was called the Marcells.
Wasn't that his daughter's name?
Yeah, he named his daughter Marcel.
Oh, also Marcel.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But I think, if I remember correctly, his dad had a like a R&B group called the Marcells.
Okay.
And so he would have grown up with that, although he didn't live with his dad. But
I think he grew up with it, though. I mean, I grew up with it. I was a white kid living in the suburbs, and I grew up listening to these,
Yeah.
I remember my mom listening to the Commodores and people like that. Like, so, I mean, this stuff's pretty ubiquitous in the 70s, I think. I
listen to country.
No.
Seriously, that's what
all my
parents listened to.
Yeah, no, we didn't listen to country. Some of the poppy. You know how the country had kind of a mainstream revival in the about 1980 around the Dukes of Hazzard years.
Sure,
you could hear Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton and stuff. I knew that stuff, but I did not listen to legit country. We had one country station in D.C., and I can't even remember what it was called. That's how little I listened to it.
Well, that's D.C.
WMZQ, maybe?
I spent summers with my grandparents, and my grandmother was in love with Hank Williams.
Okay.
So I got to hear a lot of
respectable music, though. As an adult, I've come to learn a lot of that early country, especially. It's good stuff. These days, it's kind of just like pop music.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of like,
terrible.
My dog and my truck.
Although Chris Stapleton, have you ever heard his stuff?
Is he the guy that does Tennessee whiskey?
Big old huge beard. I think he does Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah. No, there's good guys. There's good people out there.
Fantastic writer.
There's people doing it's kind of alt
Zach
country.
Brown,
the stuff that's good is alt country. Like the stuff that's on the country music station today is like who's that? Knucklehead that hated the Dixie, Toby Keith kind of crap. At the Flag and my truck and
Well, then you have the opposite side too, which is like basically pop. I mean, it's really not different from pop music either.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is just. I mean, I guess she kind of just admits she's a pop singer.
Yeah, I mean,
she's not really country, but she definitely started with a little bit of.
They actually at the Country Music Hall of Fame, they have a entire wing called the Taylor Swift wing.
Wow.
Because she donated like $10 million to it or something. Because I think she grew up in Nashville, if I remember correctly.
I don't think so. I think she's from North Carolina.
Is it something like that? But she gave them a lot of money, and they were only too happy to.
Probably people screaming at their
name
into their headphones right now because I'm wrong. But North Carolina is what it seems like to me. But I could.
Yeah, something like that. But I do know that they do have a wing, or they used to have a wing.
Well, Nashville. If you go to Nashville, you will start liking country music. I don't care who you are, because Nashville loves country, and it's the good country music. Right. And I was there, and every bar is playing it, and it's just a really fun town. It's just a really...
it is. Yeah.
It turns country into what Dre is, and it makes you're like, man,
right?
That gangster lifestyle is pretty cool, because the music's so good that you're like, this is a cool thing. And it was the same thing for me. I was walking around listening to Johnny Cash on the street, and you're like, country music is awesome.
Right.
It's just not who I am in any way, but it's just kind of appealing in a way.
I want to be country music.
Yeah, like sort of outlaw country is appealing, in a way. Like not so much Toby Keith, not so much going down to the swimming hole and, I don't know what the hell he even does, but you know what I mean.
I don't know that
That's
one.
not that appealing to me. So this was an appeal, in a way. But this is something I wanted to talk about. So I think to some extent, we always thought this was kind of, we sort of listened to this music in an ironic way, right? Like, because, it's sort of appealing. We'd buy 40s and we'd drink a 40 and we'd be like, oh, we're drinking 40s, ha, ha, ha. But we'd be like, ha, ha, ha. We knew this wasn't who we were.
Right.
And it was kind of an ironic thing. And what surprised me years later, because I took these guys at face value. I was like, you say you're killing cops and you're doing all this terrible stuff and smacking B words and stuff. And really, they're just a bunch of actors. These guys are just regular guys that wanted to be famous and make some music. And like Dr. Dre, he got himself involved in some sketchy stuff. But he was on his dive team at his high school when he was growing up.
I saw that. I went,
we didn't have a dive team at my high school. So where was he going? I guess it's L.A. It's warmer, but still.
Right.
Like, if you have a dive team at your high school, there's an element of, When I went on a cross-country road trip when I was a kid with all my buddies, this is about 1997. We're in the middle of college. We drove all the way across country when we got to L.A., and we were like, let's go see what Compton looks like. Yeah. So we drove down to Compton. I was like, oh, this is just like a neighborhood.
It's just a regular place.
It's not even like the neighborhoods in D.C., New York, Baltimore, places like that. It's like run-down row houses and projects and stuff. Like Compton and South Central is just like single-family units. Right. It's really not particularly imposing at all, and yet you're hearing about this.
Well, I'm sure that went on.
I mean, there was stuff going on there. That was
but I think we talked about. I mentioned it before, if I remember correctly. I think it was Ice Cube was going to design school in Phoenix. Yeah. When NWA formed, and he came back. And Ice-T.
I mean, you say, are these guys artists? That's the thing.
Yeah.
These guys are artists.
Yeah, they're
not hard gangsters.
Ice-T was in the Air Force. got out of the Air Force.
Oh, that's interesting.
Honorably discharged. I mean, he served with honor. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And gets out and
pretty crazy. Yeah.
writes Cop Killer. These guys were a lot deeper than just, they weren't street thugs, I guess is my point.
No, not at all.
Although Snoop served time for
Snoop
cocaine.
got in trouble. Snoop got it. Got actually. I think they started to try to get people with a little more verisimilitude later in the gangster rap.
I think that's what he was doing.
Like Tupac, not so much. Tupac was an actor.
Tupac went to Juilliard for crying out loud.
But like 50 Cent.
Yeah, 50 Cent.
You know? And actually, the East Coast guys tended to be a little harder.
Yeah, that's true.
If you read about their backgrounds, they were a little bit more legit.
Right.
Ice-T, is he East or he's?
I don't know what. I think he was. No, I think he's West Coast. But because he settled L.A.
Yeah. I associate him with New York. I think because of Law and Order.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's an LA guy. Yeah. So that's funny. There was a funny story. So I was sitting in class one day in high school, and I just kind of had these lyrics going through my head, and for like a year, however long it'd been since the album was out, I thought there was this line where the guy was like, "See you and then be do you am" or something, and I couldn't figure out what it meant. And I was going over to my head, and suddenly it just clicked. I was like, "Oh, Compton." He's spelling Compton, and I said it out loud. And this kid sitting next to me was, I can still remember. He and I looked at each other. We were like, Compton spells Compton. We were like, because both of us have been trying to figure out that lyric.
What is a D-O-double-G?
D-O-double-G. I think I always understood
you got
that one. Yeah.
All right.
We were, like I said, these lyrics used to go through my head all the time. And there was this one day, we went on a school trip up to New York, and my buddy and I were in our hotel room. And we started doing the bit that's like, "So Dre, what up, dog? Got to give them what they want. What's that, G? Got to break them off something." You know, that bit? Uh-huh. So we started doing that, and we go through, 5 or 6 stanzas of it, and somehow we linked back to the beginning because I think we forgot a line. We went back to "So Dre," and we were like laughing. We did it again, and then we went back again, and we ended up doing it 5 or 6 times. Each time we did it, we were getting louder and louder and louder. So we were yelling the lyrics to this song in our hotel room to the point where the guy next door bangs on the wall and tells us to shut up. Like, we were really into it.
Did you ever get to the Eazy-E part?
I think we had to go get the CD and be like, "Oh, okay, that's where we missed it. We dropped the line there." So yeah, what do you know about the Eazy-E beef?
Yeah, it was the whole the exit from NWA.
Right.
From what I understand, Eazy-E, I don't know. It says it was some type of financial dispute.
Eazy-E can eat a big fat.
Yeah. He can eat a big fat.
All right.
But how come you always stop me at the good part?
I know.
But yes.
My kid listens to this podcast. We got to keep it came.
Some kind of financial disagreement and I think it had to do with management or something like that.
Okay.
Like Eazy-E wanted to keep the management. I think Dre wanted to dump them and maybe go on their own or something. And so they split. I guess they're fine now. Years afterwards, everybody's because they all have a lot of money and doing well. So
yeah.
That's as far as I know.
Huh.
The rest of the what was funny is
because they really hate those guys on this album. I mean,
this was right after. This is within 2 years.
So did they not hate Ice Cube? I don't remember hearing anything. Yeah, he mentions Ice Cube in this one too, doesn't he?
I think he goes on all of them.
I
throughout
think so.
In the CD,
I think so.
He eventually insults everybody.
That doesn't age well, by the way, guys. Don't do that on an album. People look back and they say, "Hey, you're kind of petty."
Eventually,
it's hard. It's hard to look cool when you're trashing people, and But they were young, right? How old would Dre have been?
Almost 30 years old. This album, Jesus.
As of next year, this will be a 30-year-old album.
He was 27. He would have been 27. He was born in 65, I think. So was that right? Is the math right there?
Yep.
Okay.
The math is right. I don't know if the facts are right.
Well, 92 and then 65. Yeah. So
no, that part definitely.
But he'd been performing since he was like 18. He'd been doing this for a long time. I think he was a DJ first and at a club or something like that, and then eventually got into kind of producing, and NWA and the whole thing. But so it took him a while to finally kind of go solo, right? Yeah. And then it took him a while to come back and do solo because he didn't do another solo album until like 2000, I think.
He did, and he did some. What was the one there was one that I was trying to remember. Keep Their Heads Ringing, which was on the Friday soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like he did some things. That's true. I think he had a bad album that didn't hit.
Okay.
In the mid '90s, and then 2001, that album called 2001. That one's awesome. That one's as good as this one.
But he was busy.
Like I think that could be considered a classic album, and that introduces Eminem.
Right.
At least introduced him. Well, maybe he was already around. Maybe that first Marshall Mathers.
But
came out before.
He like produced, I think, Mary J. in the interim, like Mary J. Blige.
Yeah, he's involved in a whole bunch of stuff.
Obviously Snoop.
Right.
So there's tons of people that he produced for.
He's been in the lab with a pen and a pad trying to get this damn label off.
That's right. So that's right.
It's important work also.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. So it was. It's enjoyable. You know, I enjoyed.
It's fun stuff, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's kind of laid back. It's kind of chill. It's good. Laid back.
Laid back.
Is that on this album or is that on Snoop?
That's on Snoop.
That's Gin and Juice. Yeah. Yeah. I've heard a live white guy rock band cover of Gin and Juice.
Yeah.
It super works actually. It's
Does
pretty,
it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I enjoy it. Well, because like we said, there's the actual instruments on these albums, and so
I've heard a jaz version of it, and it worked.
Yeah,
and it
I
worked.
could hear that.
You know,
Yeah. Speaking of jazz, by
good.
the way, I was going to mention that. So I think how they have that jazz flute.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that makes, and especially Snoop, that makes his rap strong is that he syncopates in a way that the people didn't used to do, like Will Smith.
Yeah.
Didn't do that.
Right.
They were just like singing. They were like
they're rhyming. Talking.
They're just rhyming, and they kind of have this sing-songy quality to the rap that's crap when you go back and look at it. But Snoop is like...
Blondie tried rapping. Sorry, I'll let you get to your point.
Blondie okay, so Debbie Harry thinks she invented
like
rap.
in 1982 or something.
She thought that she was the first person.
Horrible.
Yes,
God,
it's
it's so
really bad.
horrible.
But it's that la 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 la.
Then he goes past the van, and it was a big van, and he was a man with a van. It's like, oh,
Wow.
Lord, stop.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Man, you must be far into that 40 if we're singing already. That's pretty good. Yeah. So,
but you were saying about Snoop. Yeah, Snoop.
Yeah, I was just saying the way he
does that,
syncopates and the way his flow is just different than anything before it. It's really
Right.
good. You could tell. Dre is like you said, he didn't write his own rap, which I was surprised by. But I think Dre cut lightning in a bottle with getting Snoop on this album. I mean, he's just really talented.
Well, then he did it again with Eminem because Eminem's kind of he does that same thing. He raps in a way that nobody else
he raps
did.
faster. And so to play devil's advocate about my position that he was the white face of rap and that's why he's popular, he actually raps about things that would appeal to lower class white people in a way that I don't think would be on an African American artist's album. Like he's talking about pills and like depression and stuff like that.
Talking about 8 Mile, right? I mean,
but that appeals to people in the trailer park. I'm saying like people that have different problems than you have if you're in the projects. You know, it's just different.
Tried to find his trailer, by the way.
What's that?
We tried to find his trailer, by the way, when we went to
Eminem's trailer.
Yeah, it was in Detroit. Funny. We tried to find the trailer.
I think
park.
He moved around a lot.
Well, it was destroyed. The trailer park was no longer there.
Okay,
so
that's too bad.
But we tried.
Mean,
we did.
Maybe it's too bad. So.
I don't know.
Did you know we have a friend that bought a trailer park?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
It was like flabbergasted when I heard that.
Why would they buy? Is that an investment or something? Or
I think so. I mean, I guess maybe there's money in that. I don't know.
Is this the whitest conversation ever?
Yeah. Okay. We're like trailer park. Like, by the way, I have a friend. I've got my pinky in the air while drinking my 40. I have a friend who purchased a trailer park.
40. Yeah.
So no, we do have those here. So yeah. So
interesting. Wow.
So speaking of not understanding the lyrics. Mm-hmm. There's the intro. What is it from? I think it's from Let Me Ride. There's an intro with this Jamaican lady doing a patois.
Yeah.
And I remember writing it. So I did this with Greedo's speech in Star Wars. I wrote it down so I could try to like learn all the words.
What it was.
I did the same thing with this, and I still know it by heart. I have no idea what she's saying.
Yeah.
It's like it's the thickest patois I've ever heard in my life. Yeah. And like I told you before, I grew up with a guy who's Jamaican. His grandmother spoke patois around the house. I could not understand.
Give it to her to translate.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I did ask her a couple of times. I'd be like, what do they mean by this? What do they mean by that? Why did they say one time so many times? She's like, well, that's how you introduce a story. I was like, oh, okay. Things like that. I get a little fact. So you want to hear an embarrassing story?
Sure.
So yeah, I almost purchased today a 211 Steel Reserve.
Okay.
It was one of my considerations, but it comes today in plastic bottles.
Really?
I actually walked to the counter before I realized it was a plastic bottle, and I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So I went back, put that back. Anyway, so I was in Seattle. My friend's sister had friends there. We went to stay with these people that lived there. One of the girls in the house was like a dancer at Sugar's. I mean, it was a pretty sketchy place where we were staying. So, so we went to go out and like buy some beer, and these guys were like, I got into the car, and this guy was like, you guys down with 211? You down with 211? Like talking to his friends, like, you down with 211? And I was like, I was like, wait, I didn't know what 211 Steel Reserve was. So I was like, on Dr. Dre's album, 211 means an armed robbery. And I was like, these guys are going to jack us.
Oh, my God.
So I said to my friend, I'm like, we got to get out of the car. He's like, what? I'm like, we got to get out of the car. He's like, what? And I jumped out the car and ran home and left my buddy in the car.
Oh, jeez.
I may have possibly had some paranoia-inducing chemicals in my body at the time.
Oh, Lord.
It wasn't fully like my personality, but it was pretty ridiculous.
I've never done anything that
it was really
that
stupid.
embarrassing.
It was really stupid. Yeah.
That's pretty terrible.
And I told them, like, they got back, and I told them why I did it because I kind of thought about it a little bit.
You're the only one without beer.
And they were like, "Oh no, this is going to be a 187." I was like, "All right, fair enough."
That's awesome.
I deserve getting the piss taken out of me for that. So,
what about Mickey's Big Mouth? Remember those?
Yeah, I remember a guy drinking the green bottles.
Yeah, the green bottles.
I remember somebody having those at a high school party one time. It's kind of similar. So are we getting towards talking about whether or not we're going to toast this classic?
I think so. It's on me.
It's on you. It's on you.
So why don't you convince me? Lobby.
I don't think I need to.
You
I think
to
Dre's beats will convince you. I think Snoop's flow will convince you. I think the gigantic influences that this has had.
Yeah.
The fact that two white guys can sit here talking about rap is because of this album.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Dre's a billionaire now, correct? Because of,
I would not be
I
surprised.
think he sold Beats to Apple.
Anybody who's involved with Eminem from the ground up is going to be a billionaire.
But I think his company Beats.
Oh yeah,
by Dre.
Beats, right? That's
I think he sold it to
That's
Apple.
probably where he made
I
most
believe.
of his money.
I think and I think he made his money there. So I think he is legitimately a billionaire. So that alone's got to mean something.
Good for him.
I think I will toast this. I will toast this.
Oh,
I mean, the influence is just unbeatable.
Yeah.
You can't. We were talking about Akira, and we're saying, oh, it influenced like the Matrix, like this one part, right? And there's things that you can point at, but this is like it changed rap music. It changed music.
Sure.
And then he produced went on to produce so many
definitely
amazing talents.
It's kind of like Akira because we can situate it with a whole bunch of influences going into this,
right,
and then a whole bunch coming out of it.
Yeah,
and to me,
exactly.
that belongs in the canon.
Right.
Like if you're learning about music, you got to throw this album.
I think
there,
so. Yeah, I think so. And I'm glad you picked this. I wouldn't have picked this because rap's not really my milieu.
Yeah,
so to speak, and
well, it's definitely not my milieu. I definitely I don't know if I've ever. I actually was at a show where the Beastie Boys played one time, but otherwise, I'm not sure I've been to a rap show.
I've never
because I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I'd be standing there awkwardly, not knowing what to do with my hands. And,
I do that most of the time anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what I mostly like, right?
But so. I mean, this is it's a fun, good album. Great music. Amazing talent all the way around. You get to hear Snoop for the first time.
Yep.
I'm actually familiar with Snoop's record more than this one. What's that?
His Oov.
Yeah, his Oov. I'm actually familiar with that one more than this one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, me too. I like that one also. That was a big one.
And
we used to listen to
because that one got
Chronic.
A lot of
we used
rotation.
to play Doggy Style, and we used to play Blackstreet.
Yeah.
I remember my buddy and I would have a couple of beers and play darts and just put those tracks on all night.
Well, that's the one that MTV had on all the time.
Yeah.
Was Snoop. Snoop Doggy Dogg better get himself a jobby job.
Yeah, right.
And then going into Friday and everything else. I was gonna say before we move on, the '90s had a lot of urban culture based movies Boys in the Hood, right? Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, Boys in the Hood.
And then I think Juice. Wasn't there one called Juice? And
New Jack City.
New Jack City, yeah, that was it.
I think my favorite out of all those movies, and it's not a serious movie, is Friday. I love
Fridays.
that movie.
Fridays.
I mean, I really like Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
I've probably seen 30 or 40 times, but Friday was almost like a spoof, but sort of a little bit more serious.
Ice Cube could act.
Yeah, he
Who
was
would've
great.
thought,
Yeah,
right?
he's great. Yeah, I love him. He's one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
I love the transition he made. There's this meme, and it's a picture of him from NWA,
right?
Looking all snarling at the camera. And it's like, first I was like, and then there's a picture of him from the movie where he takes his kids camping.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Are we there
and
yet?
then I was all,
are we there yet? Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
So but God bless him.
Yeah,
make some money, man. Enjoy life.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So anyway, I will definitely toast this. I think it's an amazing album. I'm so glad you suggested it.
Good. Good. That's part of the point of this, right? Is to sort of edify ourselves. And
I will say that I bought this album twice. My son saw my playlist.
Okay.
And on George Carlin's "It's Bad for You" album, there's one of the tracks is called "Old F Word."
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, okay. And it's not asterisked out or anything.
Yeah.
So my son goes, "Daddy, you have a bad word in your playlist."
Oh yeah, I get that all the time.
I was like, ah. So I initially tried.
Oh, that's actually something I wanted to mention.
So I initially I downloaded the clean version.
Okay.
you can't understand it.
No, it's no fun.
Absolutely
that
at all.
No fun.
Every other word is.
I knew a lot of the Snoop clean version.
Down,
I had the clean version of Snoop and the clean version of Ice Cube's Predator.
Okay.
I had both of those in clean. I bought Predator at Target, and so it was like the clean version of it. So, no, I was going to say this before, and I didn't get to it, but. So I listen to some hip hop in the car sometimes, and the kids hear it, and they're always like, "Daddy, bad word." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, don't repeat it, whatever." Right. But the one that I really had to talk with is the N word.
Yes,
it's prevalent in a lot of rap.
So
I had to like literally like pause and be like, "Okay, that's the worst word in the English language. Right. I don't ever want to hear that word. I would assume they would never use that word. If somebody uses that word, you stop hanging out with that person. That's how bad that word is." And then so fine. So a couple weeks later, my son's like, "So that's the worst word in the English language, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Then why do African Americans say it?" So I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
I was like, "Buddy,
that's a totally different
conversation.
That's their decision. Yeah,
and that has nothing to do with you."
Yeah.
The point is, don't you ever say it.
Right.
So I was kind of funny because I was like, "Ooh, he's got me. He's got me in a corner. I'm going to have to work my way out of this."
It's a good discussion.
He's got a good point. So
Anyway,
so we're toasting it, right?
Yeah, we are toasting it. So
okay,
here's
cool.
to
here we go. Here's a clank. Or a clunk. Drink up.
And next on the list is what are we doing next?
Next on the list is I was waiting on your word because the next thing, this was free choice. Next thing is a book. So
the book that I have chosen is
we're going on location for the next.
We are
book.
going on location.
Right.
So Dave leads a really rough life, ladies and gentlemen.
I do.
With his Harry Potter shirt on.
Yes.
He drinking his 40.
Harry Potter shirt is hilarious, by the way, because it's a picture of Hermione. And she's saying it's mimosa, not mimosa.
So not only does he have a Harry Potter shirt with Hermione, it's about mimosas. So there's a lot of cultural tags there.
There are. Yep.
Anyway, but so Dave is going to be in Hawaii for about 3 weeks, I think, 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep.
So we are going on location, and we'll be doing it via Zoom again. Yep. And I am choosing, in honor of that, Mark Twain's Letters from Hawaii.
Oh, that's a great choice.
So
it's going to be fun.
Mark Twain was a reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle, and they assigned him, and I wish I could get an assignment like this, they assigned him to Hawaii.
Yeah.
So he lived there for about 6 months, I believe, and would file a story, I think, weekly, and these were his columns, essentially. So these are his newspaper columns.
Yeah.
Published
I don't want to give
Chronicle.
away a lot, but I think he's one of the first Europeans to describe surfing.
One of the first
Americans. Anyway,
He there's a lot in there because he talks about Honolulu, what it looks like, and everything else. So it's travel.
Yep.
Travel literature is how it's kind of classified.
It's probably technically should be free choice. Travel literature, nonfiction, but considering that I'm the one screwing things up for us,
right.
I'm gonna look the other way on this.
I appreciate that.
We considered the James Missioner tome, Hawaii.
Yeah,
but I have read nothing good about it.
Right.
So
same here.
I don't.
So I think this is a good
12,000 pages. So
this will be fun. So that's on round for us next time. So
and we haven't decided what the drink will be, but we'll maybe Kona.
Something with an umbrella in it.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Kona's too easy.
Kona's too easy.
Yeah.
It's the wrong island. I'm going to be on Kauai the whole time. So
poor thing.
Yeah, I know. It's rough. It's a rough life.
Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of Toasting the Classics, and we will see you next time.
Peace out.
That's it for episode 12 of Toasting the Classics. For those playing along at home, get some Chablis and a non-alcoholic beer for next week's episode, where we'll be discussing Philip K. Dick's 1968 novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the inspiration for the film Blade Runner. If you'd like to get in touch, send us an email at toastingtheclassics@gmail.com. Send us show ideas, your comments and complaints, whatever. Check out my blog at theattractivenuisance.com and follow us on Twitter at @ractivenuisance. Our music was written by Michelle McArthur. See you next time on Toasting the Classics.